What's up, Havelock? Welcome to our first podcast. And I am honored to have with me today my man, Colonel Brendan Cletus Burks, call sign Cletus. He is our base commanding officer at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. Welcome, Cletus.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So, man, I'm going to dig into who you are. So, if you're in the community and you don't really know what a commanding officer is and what they do and who they are, I'm going to start with that before we learn about you personally. What do you actually do, man?
Yeah.
What's the base CO job?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. But wear a lot of different hats when it comes up. So if you think about it, it's about half being the mayor of the little city there, half being the city manager, for it as well. And then provide, leadership, guidance, hey, where we're going in the direction for the team. And so a lot of my focus is external of the base. So I'll give the guidance for the staff and let them start working that, and then turn my focus outboard of the installation, and then come back, check in, see where we're at, what we're doing, and provide those rudder steers to ensure we're building that good team and being good teammates here.
And so the political part, the out in the community part, and running the base. Remind me again, how much training did you get for that?
We got zero.
Zero, right? You could go like for 1 week to a class or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, they don't make manuals for being an installation commander, but it's the same type of principles that apply. Is that you take your leadership, you put it over on top of whatever task you're given. Figure out your people, know their capabilities, apply them to the best of their abilities, and provide your commander's intent and oversight. And then you just lead, and start building your team. That's where you do, and just rinse and repeat like the shampoo bottle everywhere you go.
I gotcha. Okay. So who is Cletus, right? Like, you got the call sign Cletus.
Yes.
So, I mean, everybody here could probably guess a state of where you might be from, and someone's going to guess Alabama.
Yeah.
And they'd be right. They'd be right. So, you got a family, you're here, but you've been here how many times before this?
Before this, 3 times. So we first got stationed at Cherry Point in 2001. And so Holly and I were just newly married, no kids at that point. First house we had was right there on base at Cherry Point, in the married housing. And then we moved out to Cherry Branch, moved off to Japan, came back in 2010, and at that point we brought back 1 child. Then we came back in 15, brought a 2nd child, and then we came back and we had Owen, here as well. So
brought a child every time you came back.
Every time.
Increasing Eastern North Carolina's population single-handedly.
1 tour at a time.
So do you and Holly ever get in your vehicle and drive to that house you lived in first in 2001 and like reminisce and be like, hey, we used to live in that house?
Yeah. And that house is no longer up.
It's demolished?
It's demolished there on base. But, we do ride out to Cherry Branch. We'll check out the house out there. And there's a lot of great memories here, because, all of our kids are products of Craven school systems. And, this is what we consider our military home, So we've been here more than we've been, back in our hometowns,
right,
coming through here. So
how many years have you been a Marine?
Oh, since 1992 is when I first joined. So.
All right, 1992.
Yeah.
And when you were here the first time, did you think, were you a lieutenant then?
Yes.
Okay, so as a lieutenant, did you ever ride down Jefferson Circle and think, I'm going to live in that house right there and run this base?
Not one time.
No, because your thoughts have been operational, right? And so nobody thinks about running a station, an air station, right?
Right.
And your career went through operational paths, right? The one that's most interesting to me, we got to talk about today, is you flew Fat Albert for the Blue Angels, right?
I did.
So how do you get picked for that, man?
Well, I had picked up aircraft commander in the C-130 and had flown and done our tours, kind of with there. So ended up out in Okinawa with the Sumos, 152. came back and applied for the team, just put in and rush. And, I was like, I'll never make this, this, you got to be, 245 and bench, about 350 and squat 550 to be able to get on the team, man. Those are, Rayman minds in a CrossFit body,
Right.
But then you get to meet the team and you're like, hey, these are just, good dudes and dudettes. And so went to a couple shows, sat in a couple briefs. Then you get called to go down for interviews. And so we went down to Pensacola and did the interviews there, and was lucky enough to get picked up for the 2008 team. And so stayed with them 2008, 9, and 10. And that was a great tour. I mean, it was a lot of work, and we're flying Fat Albert, so it's the big C-130. It's
and you get to
up.
do the mountain descent thing,
Oh, yeah.
and a short takeoff. You get to do things in a C-130 most people don't get to do.
Yeah, it's great.
It's pretty awesome.
It's a lot of fun, and we had the JATO, the jet assisted takeoff, back then too, and so we got a chance to do that. And some of that flying, when you're flying between skyscrapers and you can see people looking out of the windows at you, and you just look around to your crew and you're like, are you sure we're allowed to do this? Are they going to pull our wings for it? But no, it was a great tour, a great group to work with. We still keep up to this day.
And part of that might have prepared you too, man, because the Blue Angels is all about outreach,
yes.
right? I mean, the goal of the Blue Angels team, they're going to be at our air show this year, right?
Yes.
So the Blue Angels are all about outreach and letting the community understand, and it through a showmanship way, like what the military can do. And so, man, you got a little bit of training in the political part, right? You got to do a little piece of that before you got here.
Absolutely, because it's public affairs and that public communication and interaction. Because a lot of times, the show sites go to places where there's not military bases.
Right.
Everybody here in Craven County is pretty lucky because you have a military base right here. But you go to a lot of the places around the U.S., they don't have access to a military base. And so, the only time they may see the military is that traveling air show that comes through to kind of represent the Navy and Marine Corps.
I got you. All right, so in your time here, you've been coming here for 20 years
Yes.
with the Marine Corps, a little over 20 years. In that time, you've seen Eastern North Carolina change.
Yes.
Havelock's changed, Craven County's changed, all of our surrounding counties have changed. As you look at that now from a leadership position, because now you're in charge of the air station, if you could tell our community folks that are watching one thing or a thought regarding how best our community can support the Marines, the sailors, and their families. Like, we do the work to get you to MilCon, and we could talk all day about F-35s and all that. But the real thing is the relationship.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts now that you've been through it you've been there from lieutenant to now colonel in charge of the air station? What's something you can give the community?
Yeah, well, I would say, one of the biggest pros that I've seen is that there is no other community at any other installation or base in the Department of Defense like the community here around Cherry Point. That is amazing just to watch and see how this community takes care of its Marines and sailors. And it makes it a community, a home. And because a lot of these Marines and sailors, it's the first time they've been away from their house or their home state.
Good point.
And so, when we go through all, the tours and the different groups we come through there, I always try to make it a point to say, hey, where are you from? Where are you from? And what you'll hear is California, Texas, Arizona, New York. And so just the hospitality and the hometown feel that, they get here by being stationed at Cherry Point makes a lot of them want to come back and stay here, because we really have about 60% of the folks that retire out of Cherry Point end up staying in the local area here. And, this job has been great, had no idea what I was getting into, like, Cletus, you're going to go be the base CO there at Cherry Point. I'm like, okay, great. That's awesome. But, when you start peeling it back and you look at what's coming here in the future, man, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing what's happening between the state actions with, I-42 that's coming through, the Global Trans Park and setting up, bringing that C-130 rework out of Utah and bringing it here to Eastern North Carolina, just amazing. The work in partnership with NCDOT, the work with ACT and what they're doing and all the great things. I mean, it's truly amazing when you see a community all moving on one line of effort. They all get along and work together for the betterment of the community. Man, that's the team. That's just exactly like the Blue Angels,
The little things matter, right?
It does.
And
it does.
I hear from so many folks, especially their first time here, like, man, or they're West Coast guys. Then they get sent out here, and they're like, oh my gosh, we had no idea that communities work like this with the base, and we have this relationship. And it's the little things. It is about service person of the quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's about chicken pickings. It's about, and I don't think most people realize they've seen you at Music in the Park.
Yeah.
They've seen you at movies in the park because you're in a polo or a t-shirt and shorts sitting there, eating some nachos from the Nacho Shack truck or something, and I think that integration is what does it.
It is. It makes it a community and a family, and that's why people love to come back and get stationed here. And I always tell them, say, hey, is this your first tour? And it's like, well, you'll be back, so.
So, all right, let's hit a couple things that are specific about Cletus.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man, you got a family, nights
Mm-hmm.
are busy. You got kids that are doing sports at the high school, at rec ball. You got kids doing stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
Just like we all do. So when you get home at night and you and Holly are done for the evening, do you read a book? Do you watch YouTube? You watch TV? What does Cletus do in the evenings?
Man, when I get home at night, first thing I do is I get out my battery-powered blower and I go blow off the back porch and the driveway and all that. Because I've been entrusted to take care of that house, and so that's number one. Get that taken care of, and then it's making dinner, making lunches, all those type of things. It's the family routine, and it's one that you really start to cherish, that family routine, when you get pulled away from it. Because sometimes our jobs take us away from those families. So really cherish those times because they go quick.
Well, that's an interesting advantage of being a base CO, right? Like for 3 years at least, you're not deploying.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in Africa. You're not going to be in wherever they've been sending you all these years. You actually get that time with your family.
Yes, that's true. But we've got so much work to do that 3 years is not enough. We need six or seven, when it comes up, because, time is our most valuable asset. And that's the thing in there, is to make that time count, and put that time towards serving a purpose, and, really feel fulfilled in this job, because that time and the purpose behind it is just moving the needle, where America's Air Station is going to be, the power projection platform that our nation leans on in the future. So it's pretty awesome to be a part of.
Man, I was going to ask you a piece of leadership advice, and
Yeah.
you already did it.
Oh.
That was it. Respect time.
Yeah.
Appreciate and respect time. Words from Cletus right there.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you work your tail off. I was so impressed because, a CEO, we always are going to get to know each other immediately. And I was so impressed. Like on the second time we drove around the base, you did the tour yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, this building and this building and this is happening, this is happening. And I remember leaving thinking, man, that dude has spent 24 hours a day for 3 weeks doing nothing but reading briefs, like understanding the base. And you've spent that same amount of time understanding the community.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted you to be in our first podcast. And to our folks that are watching, the reason Cletus is here for our first podcast is because you should know our base CO. When you see him in Food Line, when you see him at Walmart, when you see him at the high school, at the football game, or because you're at those, and he's at the soccer games, and you should know who this man is, because he is doing things for our community. He's shepherding us right now for the next 2 years anyway. He's shepherding us through the process of becoming the world's largest master jet base of F-35s, and we will be a power projection platform, which is a great phrase of alliteration, right? I love it. And so Cletus is important to Havelock. And when Cletus leaves in 2 years, my experience is we'll still be texting.
Yeah.
Like 3 years from
Absolutely.
now, 4 years from now, we'll still be texting about what's going on, because you never really go away. You made your mark.
Yeah. It's lifelong friends, man, and it's family, you know?
Well, thank you for being here with me today, Cletus. I'll say this to the people watching. if you decide you want to know about F-35s, if you decide you want to know about how many billions of Milcon dollars my man is shepherding over there with his team, how many Marines we've got, what the future looks like, hit us on Facebook, hit us on Instagram, send us a message. I'm not hard to find. You can come by City Hall, you can call, you can email. There's a million ways to get a hold of us. Let us know. And Cletus, my man said he will come back at any time and we can do another one where we talk about maybe a specific subject or dig a little deeper down into those weeds.
Absolutely.
But for today, I want to say thank you for breaking in our podcast booth.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.
Hoorah. Y'all have a great day.
All right.